In the past 3 years, what has this meant for your life? What does this date mean to you?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because we're commemorating something terrible and something heartbreaking. But it's also a demarcation for me in a giant shift in my life where I have taken grief and trauma and pain and been able to turn it into power and advocacy. And I have been joined by so many others over the last 3 years who have taken this fight as their own personal mission as well. And so it's very encouraging and motivating to me to see how much people are willing to fight back and give of their own lives for this mission.
And as you've become more involved in this, have you seen many minds changed? What's come of your conversations and advocacy?
Yeah, it's been so motivating and so encouraging to have these conversations in, private community settings on larger scales and see folks really shift the way that they think about this issue that has been so heavily politicized for so long. And seeing that when we educate people and we share our stories, it really does change the way that they view this issue, I think, for the better.
I'm curious how you take the election results when it comes to this particular issue, because this was something that Kamala Harris, as the Democratic nominee, campaigned very heavily on. And I'm wondering what you think you take away from the election results.
Well, it's complicated, right? Although we did not elect the most pro-choice candidate that we could have, we did see wins across the board on the issue of reproductive freedom. In 7 out of 10 states where abortion access was on the ballot, we won in those ballot measures. Also in Florida, we won with the majority. We just didn't reach this arbitrary threshold that we had to. So time and time again, we see that when reproductive access is on the ballot, it wins. And I think we'll continue seeing that in the future.
And I'm curious how you would assess how the Trump administration is or isn't handling this issue as well, because during the campaign, obviously there were a lot of projections about what he might do. What have you seen this administration act upon or not act upon?
Well, so far, we have not seen any sort of federal ban on abortion, right? And I think that's something that we're all still tracking very closely. It's something that we're all still very concerned about. But what he has done is leave it up to states like Texas to enact even more and more cruel bans and even more restrictions as local governments are allowed to implement some of these policies as a result of the Trump administration and their policies.
And as you are lobbying on Capitol Hill, as you're talking to lawmakers, talking to stakeholders in this, what is your message right now?
Yeah, so we'll be on the Hill tomorrow with Free and Just. There are 100 storytellers from 39 states that are going to meet with our lawmakers and share our stories and explain what's happening across the country and in states like Texas where these horrible bans exist, and ask them to do something, ask them to help us fix the problem. We've seen people in my home state of Texas, people are dying, and we need to communicate what the reality is for real people in this country, and we're asking our lawmakers to help us.
Do you think that there has been a spotlight kind of taken off of this issue? As it turned out, it wasn't as potent on the federal level in this election as many people thought it might be.
I think there's been a lot of distraction with the Trump administration. I think there is a constant stream of chaos coming at us from all angles, and I think that is intentional. I think it's designed to confuse, intimidate, silence, and as you can see from myself and my fellow storytellers who are here in D.C. advocating, we will not be silenced.
There was a really interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal where they interviewed Kat Cammack. She is a Florida congresswoman. She is pregnant with her first child, but she also said that she had an ectopic pregnancy and couldn't immediately get the treatment that she needed and really had to persuade her doctors to give it to her. Now, she's in Florida. She's a Republican. But as she recounts her experience with this. She blames those on the other side of the aisle for fear-mongering around this issue and creating uncertainty that doctors feel like they can't provide the treatment that they're legally allowed to provide because they're worried about the consequences. She argued that that's coming from fear-mongering around this. And I'm wondering what your response to that is.
First of all, my heart goes out to the Congresswoman and for what she went through. With that said, I think it's ridiculous to say that our messaging is fear-mongering. My story and what happened to me is not fear-mongering. It's my medical record. She's a U.S. Congresswoman who had to pull up the law on her cell phone to show her physicians. She had to call her governor to finally get care. And someone with resources and power of that nature, if that's what they have to resort to and they still have trouble getting care, what does that mean for the rest of us?
All right. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time, and we're wishing you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.